everyone. You can't see me, but I can see you. We're gonna be doing a video on coloring. I've had a cajillion emails and people calling me all the time about how to color our images. I don't want our design team to make fun of me because they haven't set up to the plate to do some coloring, so now you're stuck with me. So the first thing, what we're gonna color today is Annie. She's the new stamp by Christy Kroll, and her boyfriend, brother, husband is Arthur. So these are them. Are they not the cutest things ever? So, tools of the trade in coloring with Prismacolor colored pencils. What I recommend is a good black ink pad. I always use black Memento. The best colored pencils that you can afford, which I recommend Prismacolor pencils. They're soft, buttery, yummy. They have to be deeply pigmented because they're gonna have to melt with our next tool, which is odorless mineral spirits. Now we sell the bottle empty at stampingbella.com, but you can fill it with odorless mineral spirits. In the States it's called Gamsol. That's a brand name, and in Canada it can be called Taltine or just an odorless solvent. And what this is used for is to blend and melt the wax of the colored pencil. Now you should do this in a ventilated area. You can keep that ventilated on, of course. You have to keep it in a ventilated area, and just try not to sniff it because it could be toxic. So don't let your kids near it, or at least supervise them if they're using it. The next tool, we've done ink, we've done mineral spirits, and we've done colored pencil, is a paper stump. Now I hate the word stump because I just get all these yucky visuals. So it's just like a paper blending pencil. This size is number 4, and I also use usually a number 2. Well, this is a number 1 to get into little spots. But really it's the point that matters. You can take a look at all the colored pencils I have. I'm a bit of an addict, a compulsive shopper, but you know that about me already. So now we can start. These paper stomps are what we use to blend the color. Okay, and then there's a sanding block, and what we use with the sanding block, it's a neat little tool because, and we sell this, you have many layers, so once one gets dull, you just rip it off and you get to the next layer. And then we can sharpen. That's how we sharpen it, is with the sanding block. You can use an emery board, you can use sandpaper, but this is just kind of cute to go into your craft bag, you know. It's all about the cute. So, let's stamp Annie. To ink my stamp, I never do the thunk. I always tap it over my image, so I make sure I have a nice, crisp, clear image and that it's wet and juicy and nice. So I know that that's covered properly, and if not, we'll find out soon. And then we place, apply a little pressure, do the finger walk, and lift. And there she is. Oh, she's so cute. In art. I will tell you how I do it, and you can follow me in my routine and see how I do it. So what I do is usually I take a little post-it note. This isn't a post-it note, but let's pretend. And I make a sun. And don't feel like a fool if you do this. Every time you color, you put this post-it note here, and this is going to help you find out where your shading should be. So if you place the sun right close to her, you know that here you're not going to have shading because the sun is beating her hair over here. But you know that the sun is never going to get here. So that's where you do your shading. You know that the sun is never going to go under her neck, so that's where you're going to do shading. And usually if you're a righty, this is what I've tested a few people, asked them the question. Usually you're going to want to shade left to right. So the theory to me is left to right, and then you do some additional shading where you feel the sun isn't going to shine. But trust me, if you do this, this will help you a lot. So let's do her face. A lot of people have asked how we do the face, what color we use for her face, etc. So what I use first is the Prismacolor Light Peach. Now when we use this and color our images, basically we're laying down our paint palette. So what you do is when you lay down this color, this becomes your paint palette. And this is what you're melting to drag to the other side of the image. So the more you put down, the bolder your image is gonna be, or the coloring will be. The less you put down, the more faint it will be. So what I'm gonna do is put, and you don't have to be shy about putting, you can always build color afterward. You can go back in a week and build color. There's no time limit. That's what's great about this technique. So I laid down my color. Now the next step, and people are gonna do you do circles? Do you do little squiggles? Basically, I just scribble it on. This is when I do my scribblies. And then after I'll tell you what direction or what I use for the stumps. Oops, sorry. So now I'm gonna take my paper stump and I'll show you how to clean it. This one has green on it. So I don't want green because that'll contaminate my peach. So the first thing I would do is try to find something that's similar to this color, but I'm too lazy, so I'll just clean this. So what you do is you rub it on the sanding block. See the green coming off? And while you're rubbing it and sharpening it, you want to maintain the point. So you're doing you're twisting it to try to keep the point still alive. And then if there's little leftovers, you just rub it on the sponge and it's clean and ready to go. So next thing we do is we tip the bottle 3 or 4 times to wet the sponge. Undo the cap. You could tell I'm having a bad hair day because I'm not on camera today. Okay, so we're gonna do this is where I do the circles. I do little circles to melt it and I drag it to the other side. I go all the way over and I keep going back and forth to melt, and you can see how it's melting. Back and forth. You never want to see a visible line. When I see students, if some of my students are watching this, they'll know that I kind of scream at them and raise my voice if I see a visible line, because that looks unprofessional. So if you happen to see a clear line here, you're going to go over it and melt it again. So you keep on going back to your palette and you keep on dragging it as far as it wants to go. So now I don't see any lines and I see a little bit of gradation of color. And that's the first step. So now you see her face has a bit of color. So now we're gonna do some shading to her face. Peach, PC939. So usually when I'm shading, I'm using either 2 to 3 colors in the same family. It doesn't have to be in the same family. You can take your paper first and match out colors by doing little scribblies, see if it matches. There's no science. It's whatever you feel like mixing is what you're gonna mix. There's no right or wrong. So now, because I always go left to right, and I also think under the bangs that the sun isn't gonna hit, I'm gonna just do now a thinner line. So if you'll see, my first line was much thicker to cover the whole image. Now I kind of don't want to cover the whole image. I just want to accent the shading. And Paula, you better not make fun of me. Okay. So now if you'll see I just did a little bit around her bang area. I'm not going to clean my stump again because it's a similar color, and I'm not going to re-wet it, because if you re-wet it, it'll all mush into one and there's not going to be any gradation of color. So you use the same stump and you can do little dabs. It's called the dabbing technique. That's the Emily's dabbing technique. With the first color, I do circles, little circles to drag, and now I'm just doing dabbing because I want to pull the color, but I still want to keep the difference. I want you to see that there's a bit of shading there. So I see a line here and I don't like that, so I'll scream at myself, pretend I'm my own student, and I'll just work on it and work it out. And I'm also doing this sideways, so I'm a bit cockeyed right now. But then you see that she is a little bit more depth. There's more depth to her. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my third color just to really make her face pop. And I'm going to use the burnt ochre, PC943. And when I place my third color or my second color, I always look for the little nooks and crannies that'll make her face pop. So really, you're going to put it where I don't think the sun will ever go. So I'm going to put it here. And again, if you send this card and you put the shading here, no one's going to say, I can't believe she sent that card and shaded over there. So there's really no one will say anything to you. Just do what you feel. And I'm doing it, and I have no artistic background. I'm just doing where I think that the sun isn't gonna go. So I put less here. Again, I'm not gonna wet my stump because it'll all blob into one. So I'm gonna do again, little dabs, because this will really make it pop. This is a deeper color. And I'm just pulling it a little bit, melting it a little bit, getting rid of any obvious lines. Look how cute my Annie is. I love her. And then you'll see that line again here. I don't want that. So again, just to kind of blend it out. And you can use the dabbing technique, you can use the circling technique, you can use whatever it is to make you feel good. And just the circular motion itself is very relaxing. So there she is. Now she's really tanned. So that's her. We can do a face with a Copic base too.
How about her cheeks?
Her cheeks. Thought you'd never ask. I wanted to slip that one by you. We'll do a little Crimson Lake, just a little. So I'm putting it here. It's very hard to find her cheeks here because you don't want her to look like she has sinusitis. So you just do little circles and you blend. But again, I don't want to see those circles. I want to see it blended. And this tool is really amazing to get, this tool is, again, very good at getting it blended because you kind of still want to see, and again, don't pay attention to the color of the cheeks. I'm just showing you the technique. So I'm going to wet it again just to see if it'll spread a little bit more, which it will. And the great thing about the mineral spirits is that it evaporates very easily, so your paper doesn't remain wet. So that's her. Now again, if I had the carmine red, it would have been much more punchier and vivid, but I don't. One of our other favorite tools, which I guarantee to work 100% with these techniques that I'm showing you, is our Bella's Bestest paper. It comes in an off-white, which is this color. You would never know that it's off-white. There's no yellow tinge to it. It's gorgeous. This is my favorite. And the white, the standard white, which I love also, but it's just a creamy coated paper and you can blend on it so beautifully, and Copics on it, colored pencils on it are amazing. Who want to use Copics, are frustrated with its blendability and want to still have the shading techniques, then this is what you're going to do. We're going to color the base of her face with a Copic E000. It could be E40s too. I just happen to have this one. So I'm going to, and every time I know that you have to open it this side, but I always open this side first because I'm a yo-yo. Okay, so we're gonna color her face. Okay, so now let's pretend that that was the light peach that we used here. So now I'm gonna take again my peach, just the plain peach color. Okay, so there's that, and then I'm going to take my burnt ochre, and then I'm just going to do at the little pop spots. And I probably didn't do the same thing last time. I think I did more here, so it doesn't matter. And you know what? I can forget, and next time I'll say, oh, I'll show you after I blend it. So I'm going to do the little dabs, not the circles, to just make sure there's a difference, because you want to see that burnt ochre here. This is where I feel compelled to do a little shading. So I'm going to do little dabs here, so you see? And I'm just pulling the color. So there, now I feel like it's complete. And that's it for the face.